On today's show, we tag along on a hunt in the wilds of Wyoming. The hunt is a special one, special because of the young hunters taking part.
350 degrees.
While Thanksgiving has just passed, it's still the season of the turkey. Laura Shera goes wild in the kitchen with a perfect gobbler recipe.
Look at that.
Our Minnesota Bound Classic this week is all about, you guessed it, the history of the wild turkey. Gobbles all around. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's Select GMC dealers.
Hi everybody, Raven and I welcome you to the show. As you know, if you're a longtime viewer, we always end every program with this statement. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors. Well, our first story is about just that, as a couple of youngsters have a trip of a lifetime, elk hunting in Wyoming, and we tagged along.
Wyoming's elk hunting season coincides with homecoming week. And instead of picking the perfect dress, Claire Manty is instead sighting in her 30-06 for her first ever elk hunt.
In the outdoors, I like to fish. I like to hunt, obviously. And I like to just spend time outdoors.
Claire loves camouflage with a splash of burgundy.
Some girls like to go shopping and stuff like that, and hunting is just another thing for girls to do that really just gets them away from everything and just relieves stress.
Fishing lured her in, and hunting hooked this daddy's girl for life.
You know, Claire actually very independent, always wanted to do what Claire wanted to do. But yeah, she always was a little bit of a tomboy.
My dad, I wouldn't really call him my dad necessarily. He's more like a friend. He's like a best friend.
She's my hero. Strong girl.
Got her right there, dead center.
Claire's strength is immeasurable, except on days when she has none at all.
I have a rare disorder called lymphangiomatosis, or Gorham's disease.
It's, well, it was misdiagnosed a couple of times, very rare. It affects the bones in her body. Basically, her bones are disappearing.
Past couple years have been in and out of the hospital for me. I actually didn't even think I was going to be able to come on this elk hunt because I just got out of the hospital a week ago.
She had a pretty catastrophic event. She had a hole in the base of her skull, and a portion of her brain dropped down through that hole. And then that portion of the brain started to die because it wasn't getting the blood flow it needed.
In 2014, Claire spent 150 days in the hospital, and this year, 100 more.
Basically, they said there's not much more we can do. It's a quality of life issue now. We just want to keep her pain-free as much as we can.
Any day I'd have pain, or any day I'd have troubles or anything like that, I'd just be like, that's not that big of a deal. I'm going elk hunting.
There is nothing better than opening morning. Geared up before sunrise, and up the mountain they go. Outdoor Adventures for the Physically Challenged gifted a free trip for Claire and her father Ryan to Newcastle, Wyoming.
We feel that they are in need of something like this to get their self-esteem back up and get them back out into the wild doing the hunting. That's what we're here to do.
The game plan was to have Claire sit in a blind all morning. But this is why you have to be ready walking in. Hard to see, but that is a lone satellite bull hiding in those pines.
He's gonna come out over here on this side of the tree. He's walking right towards us. You get him when you can.
I know I hit that thing. I know it. I just know it. Sat down and we looked at it, and it was huge, and we waited for it to come and just kept walking towards us, didn't even know we were here, and then it just stopped, and it was a perfect could get a perfect shot on it, and then bang. Oh, it's such a rush. I can't stop shaking. My heart's beating so fast.
Not even 30 minutes in the woods. A 60-yard perfect lung shot. And she harvests a 3x4 bull.
Yes.
This was a day that will sit in her mind for the rest of her life. And we got to be part of that. That's really special.
Outdoor Adventures, you guys are amazing, and all the guys that help out with everything. You guys have touched my life in a way that no one really ever has. It's an amazing opportunity to come out here and just let all the stress go and not even have to worry about being in pain or having things happen to you.
Gorham's disease may steal some good days, but not this one. This experience Claire can cherish forever.
It really is about her excitement, and I saw things that excited her that I hadn't seen since she was a little girl. That same reaction was when she walked in yesterday. Oh, you son of a...
Coming up, now it's Zach's turn. Will the elk bugle for him too? Stay tuned.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC dealers. Ellsworth Creamery. Rapala Ice Force. And by Border View Lodge.
Time now to continue our adventure, tagging along with youngsters on an elk hunt. Lindsay Hayes has the story.
Welcome back to Minnesota Bound in Newcastle, Wyoming.
Guess what I did? I shot an elk, and I shot it a perfect shot. You're the first person to know outside of the camp.
The hunt is only one part of the experience with Outdoor Adventures for the Physically Challenged.
I am from Whitehall, Wisconsin. My hobbies are hunting, fishing, driving four-wheeler, snowmobile, a lot of things outdoors.
Zach, too, is a recipient of a free hunt.
I was really excited coming out to Wyoming. First time being out in Wyoming. Always wanted to come out here because mountains, see some antelope, elk.
The 19-year-old and his dad, Merv, drove 11 hours to get here.
You don't dream, I mean, you dream of it, but you never think it's ever going to come true. You know, and then it comes true and it's like, wow, this is amazing. It's just hard to imagine until you experience it.
Outdoor Adventures is a nonprofit organization that started back in 2010. The Bruner family donates 50,000 acres of prime hunting land, and the guides volunteer their time. These pictures say it all. 26 successful hunts. Veterans, wheelchair-bound hunters, terminally ill patients, and children harvesting elk, antelope, mule deer, and more.
We try to make all of our experiences the same every time. When they pull out of this driveway to go home, I want them to look back at me and say, we've had the best time of our lives. And if they do that, then I know my job's been done.
Zach and his guide Barry tried both tactics, the spot and stalk and sit and wait.
First elk hunt, went out there in the morning, heard some bugles. And then we seen about 3 or 4 cow head up the mountain away from us. Afternoon, went out and seen nothing.
Day 1, no elk, but staying positive is the name of the game.
Goal is I'm gonna go out there and get one, stay out there until I can get one. And I'm gonna be out there all day until I can get one.
That's the way this kid is. He's relentless. He's that way at home too. It's, you know, he's not gonna quit until he gets his way.
Zach knows a thing or two about being relentless. He is battling stage 4 melanoma cancer.
It's about 3.5 years ago, I think we discovered it in 2013, the fall of 2013, August, I believe it was. He had come home from prom, and was experiencing some tremendous back pains.
I was really depressed. I was pretty sad, so it wasn't good. I know that.
At this time, there is no cure, no radiation or chemo, just a nutrition plan.
I think mind over matter is a lot of it with Zachary. He doesn't allow it to get him down. He just refuses to let this illness get him down.
It wasn't until day 4, at 8:20 in the morning, when cameras were no longer rolling, that he harvested this guy, a dandy 6x6 at 200 yards. Not one successful hunt, but 2.
Sometimes we don't realize how strong he is until he explains to us that he's not a quitter.
With Zach and with Claire, the words "I can't" don't exist. Instead, these two choose to live, to love, and to hunt.
So get to know your bird.
Next up, it's time for Wild in the Kitchen, complete with gobbler and fixins.
Closed captioning from Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Radco Truck Accessories.
Time now to go wild in the kitchen. You know, Thanksgiving is over, but there's always a good time to give thanks when you have wild game on the menu. Laura Shera does the cooking.
The holiday season is right around the corner, and many of us are cooking wild turkey because it's just that time of year. And Chef Paul is here from the Firelight Grill House and Cocktail Bar. And Chef Paul, I understand you're going to teach us the 3 B's of cooking wild turkey?
That is correct. The first thing we have to recognize is that wild turkeys are not the same as the domestic turkeys. First of all, you'll notice the breasts are much smaller than on a domestic turkey. All the fat is up around the neck, protecting it. The legs have a lot more sinew. So those 3 B's, first of all, brine, butter, and bag. Step 1 is let's brine the bird. We've taken off the feet, we've cut out the fat, and now we're going to place it in the brine. So we've made our brine, so now we're going to take our turkey and we're going to completely submerge it. Put a weight on it and leave it there for 24 hours.
But make sure it stays cool.
Make sure it stays cold. We want to pull it out probably an hour to 2 hours before cooking. And what you want to do is you want to pat it dry inside and out. So now we're ready for the second B, which is butter it. To make our herb butter, we want to start off with a ½ pound of butter. We want a ½ cup of fresh picked thyme, ½ cup of chopped parsley, and a ½ cup of sage. We'll end up with our herb butter that looks like this. And you want to work your way on top of the breast and underneath the skin. Uncover the entire breast all the way down the thighs. So now we're going to take a generous amount of butter, and what you want to do is you want to rub it all over. So get to know your bird.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take an onion, 2 or 3 stalks of celery, nice big chunks, carrot, and then an apple. Mix together and shove it inside the cavity of that bird and fill it up.
So this is the 3rd B.
This is the 3rd B. It's these oven roasting bags. Start off by putting 2 tablespoons of flour in the bag and you shake it. What that does is it helps to prevent the bag from blowing up. And before we put the bird in the bag, we want to season it. One last thing, I'm going to tie it up. Start off by going up underneath around the other leg, and then I just tie the 2 together. You want to put 6 half-inch little slots. So we're going to put that bird in the oven at 350 degrees on the lower rack for 2 hours. So it's been about 2 hours. Oh, fantastic.
Look at that.
Fantastic. How nice and moist that turkey breast is.
If you want your turkey to be juicy and wildly delicious, follow the 3 B's, and you're bound to get just this.
This week, our Minnesota Bound Classic takes a look at the history of the wild turkey. And it's such a colorful story.
Minnesota Bound, Brought to you by Connecticut, Totem Resorts, Maui Jim Sunglasses, and by Evinrude, the official outboard motor of Minnesota Bound.
Time now for our Minnesota Bound Classic. You know, we tend to think about turkeys, wild and domestic, at this time of year, but have you ever thought how wild turkeys really got started in Minnesota? We have the story.
This is a wild turkey. It might look like just another bird, but don't be fooled. Wild turkeys are not ordinary. They've been known to disrupt long marriages, lose good-paying jobs, and cost a lifetime of sleep. It's a contagious critter, the wild turkey is. Addictive company, so to speak. In other words, once you spend a spring dawn with a wild turkey, your life, well, it's never the same. I know. It happened to me. 30 years ago in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota, I walked the pine hills imitating the sounds of wild turkeys. When I heard my first turkey gobble, my heart rate jumped, and it's been high on wild turkeys ever since. It's easy to love to hunt the wild turkey. It's not easy, explaining why. Some folks think wild turkeys are ugly, although I can't imagine what they're thinking. Hen turkeys are a little drab, I suppose. The hen's head is a dull blue-gray, compared to the tom or male bird, who sports bright red wattles and something called a snood that hangs down from the beak like a fleshy finger. Is that pretty or what? Plus, there's a nifty piece of horsetail, a beard, that hangs from the chest. Add a splash of sunshine on those feathers, and the colors glow like gold dust, don't you think? When a big tom turkey fans its tail, struts and dances, you must admit, it's a sight to remember for the rest of your days. Sadly, we almost lost the wild turkey a century ago. Habitat destruction and overhunting in the late 1800s almost pushed the bird into extinction. In my home state of Minnesota, the last bird was killed in 1871. Now there's a happy ending to that sad story, thanks to the efforts of wildlife managers and contributions from turkey hunters. Turkey populations have been restored through transplant programs. Now there are huntable populations of turkeys in 49 of the 50 states. Golly, there's even a convention of turkey fans held by the National Wild Turkey Federation. It might be the only convention in America where folks gather to sound and act like turkeys. It helps to be a turkey nut to understand all of this. We turkey nuts like to poke a little fun at ourselves, hooting like owls and talking like turkeys. The only thing we turkey nuts are serious about is making sure we always have enough turkeys to be nuts about.
Mickey says,
if you'd like to be a turkey nut, it's easy. Come to a turkey camp, swap turkey stories, and feel the joy. Get up before dawn on a spring morning. Sit in the woods and listen. You'll hear turkey music that has echoed through history. Native Americans said any brave could shoot a deer, but it took a chief to get a turkey for a Thanksgiving feast. Ben Franklin thought the turkey was the perfect national emblem.
Franklin thought that it was a much better emblem than an eagle because an eagle's too warlike, whereas a turkey is a much more peaceful bird, and he wanted America to be a peaceful country.
Another nice thing about being a turkey nut is it gives you a chance to talk to the real bird. You can make sexy hen talk by scratching on wood boxes or glass slates or mouth calls. And when the old gobbler hears what he wants to hear from a hen, he answers back. The idea is to entice the tom bird for a little hanky-panky in the woods. And so our turkey story must end, because the rest is X-rated. Right, Tom?
Wild turkeys, just another blessing from Mother Nature. Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors, show them a wild turkey. I'm Ron Sharon, of course, always the star of the show, who's no turkey dog, Raven.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. more information on these stories and more, catch us on the web at mnbound.com. Share your stories on the Minnesota Bound Facebook page under the Share Your Story tab.